Questions. So many questions in the world. So many people trying to figure out what it's all about. Why are we here? What are those? And only one person has the answers. Me. So I'm going to do something incredibly original, never done before on YouTube. I'm going to do a Q&A because I haven't done one in a while. I don't do reading comments videos the way they are anymore, like the and now YouTube comments, because I've done so many of them. There's over 100 episodes of it, and I said it would keep going forever, but I just kept getting the same questions all the time. I'm probably going to get all the same questions again here, but here we are anyway. But I thought I'd leave it for a good long time until we go back and do these types of things. Leave a bit more gaps between them so we actually get different questions pertaining to what's actually going on right now. And I started doing different types of, because I miss interacting with you guys, with the audience, with everybody at home watching. I want to bring you into the videos more and more, and that's where certain other videos came into play, like the flamingo shorts and everything, or like looking at memes that you guys have made. Those kinds of things are a great way of bringing the audience into the video, and I want to do more of those, but because I haven't done like a proper reading comments or actually Q&A or anything like that for a while, it's hard to get a sense for where my head's at. And so much change going on in the background all the time. Those were kind of like a concrete way of just kind of sitting back and being like, oh, okay, I get it. I know what's going on. I see where your head's at. Those types of things. And because I don't do many vlogs or anything anymore, these are a good way of doing that. So I thought, why not? Let's try and go back to where we were and do some more of these and try and connect a small bit more. So sit back, grab yourselves a drink, and let's A some Qs. Why haven't you gotten that Coke sponsorship yet? Okay, first question, going straight for the jugular, okay? I'm out here, man. I'm not trying to catch those hands. Leave me alone. How's that Coke sponsorship coming along? Come on, guys. Let's get it out of the way right now, okay? I'm working on it. Have you guys heard about Coca-Cola Zero Sugar? Have you? The good word? It's the same great Coke taste that you're all used to, but now it has zero sugar, and this one even has a hint of added vanilla. I'm getting orange vanilla sent to my house. Getting it sent to my house. I bought it and I ordered it. I made it sound like they sent it to me. Because I've never tried it and everyone keeps talking about it, so we'll see. Oh, Coke review. How are you doing? Anything interesting / cool coming up? Coke sponsorship. But honestly, there's a few things that are kind of in the background going on kind of all the time, and they're very slow burning. Again, I hate to be vague TM. I wish I could talk about a lot more of these things as they're going on, but a lot of these things are contractually obligated and you can't talk about them. But I do have some things that I'm working on. Nothing like super crazy over the top that's going to change the world or anything like that, but I'm just trying to do some fun stuff alongside the videos that I'm doing. But I'm just happy doing the videos that I'm doing. I'm trying not to take on too much. When I took on the tour last year, that felt like it was a bit too much. By the end of that, I got very burnt out. So I'm trying not to burn myself out too much this year, but also not just sit back and play games all the time. I love doing that. I want to play games till the day I die, but I want to keep some stuff going on in the background as well off YouTube. So stuff in general, like the charity streams are still going on, creating different pins for those all the time. The next charity stream, by the way, as of this video, should be the 28th of April. So Sunday the 28th. I have a thing that's happening in Japan. Before then, by the time this goes up, maybe I'll be allowed to talk about it. That's one of the things. I'm allowed to say that I'm going to Japan, but not why yet. And I'm really, really excited about that. There's some really cool stuff that's going to come out of that, but like 2 days after I'm back, I will have to do the charity stream because I don't want to miss a month. I said that I'm not going to. So the 28th of April will be that one, but lots of stuff coming out. Lots of stuff that I'm working on, and just general personal life happiness is the thing that I'm working on most this year. Where is that video of the tour? I didn't get to go to one of your shows, so I've been waiting to see all 90 minutes of the How Did We Get Here live show Comedy World Tour from Jacksepticeye. We're still working on it. Well, I say we. I'm not doing anything got to do with the documentary right now. I put the work in already. But I've talked to Tucker a couple of times about it, and he's gone through a bunch of the footage and he's whittling it down, so it's still happening. But with the... Okay, you said that you didn't go to the show, so I can't really explain it that well, but for anyone who did go to the show, you know the setup of it, you know the premise of it. It's all about going through life, like a literal how did we get here. Do you have 90 minutes to go over it? Overcoming obstacles and where you came from and how you got to be where you are, because a lot of people can look at this type of stuff, and especially when you're up on stage doing a show and think, man, they found the secret, they accomplished success, and I want to know how to be able to do that. What's the secret? And then when you actually see the show, you realize there wasn't really that much of a secret to it. It was just right place, right time, work really hard, a little bit of luck involved. So I want the documentary to kind of reflect a lot of that. I wanted to reflect why we made the show, because I didn't make the show just willy-nilly for the sake of trying to get money out of people or sell tickets and merch and all that kind of stuff. I wanted an actual show with a proper premise and something that I was proud of, something that had a message behind it. So I want the documentary to sort of reflect that as well. So it's going to take a long time to get through, but it's coming. It'll happen. I don't know what format yet. I don't know where it's going to be released and how, if it's paid, if it's free. All of that stuff will happen when it happens, but I'll do it the best way that I can. Meme review when or if Felix asks me. I mean, it's his show. He can do what he wants. I'd love to do it. Sounds like a bunch of fun, and a bunch of cool people have already gotten to do it. But again, his call. If he doesn't want me to, that's fine. If he wants me to, I'm right here. Any plans for another tattoo? Oh, you're still using the nickname I gave you years ago. That's actually really sweet. I don't have any like set plans for what I want in my next tattoo. Like I don't have a design in my head. These two were the ones that I definitely wanted. The ones that I can't even show them to the camera. The Bloodborne one and the Shadow of the Colossus one. These are the only tattoos that I have right now. But I do want more. I've said that I wanted to get like a PMA one at some point, but I don't want just PMA written on me. I'd like a cool design around it. I've kind of wanted something Asian for a while, like something Japanese or Korean, because a lot of the symbolism and a lot of the folklore and stuff from those regions are really, really cool. I'm playing stuff again like Shadow of the Colossus and Bloodborne and Sekiro, all made by Japanese developers. I'm always kind of inspired by their artistic talent. So I want to get something like that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know when, how, what, or why, but at some point I'll get more tattoos. Would you ever consider doing a band again? I'd love to see you play them drums live. I don't think I'll ever do the band thing again. The band thing barely even happened the first time. I had a band first when I was like 16, when I started off playing drums, 16, 17, with some guys. Some of them were in the band that you all know at this point, but we didn't really do anything. We did a couple of Battle of the Bands, we did a couple of gigs. I gigged. We weren't very good at the time, but we just had fun doing it, which was the main point in it. It was never really intended to go anywhere. And then we started the Race at the Ground band, and that was we had bigger ambitions for that one because we were actually decent. And a lot of our contemporaries at the time weren't playing music the same way we were, and we were very, very proud of it. But that kind of just fizzled out when college happened. Everyone went their separate ways. Everyone was doing different things. I left college. I didn't go back again. So I wasn't in a good place in my life either. I didn't even play drums again after that point. So a lot of stuff happened then for the band to disband. But in regards to doing it again, I probably wouldn't do like a band thing again and tour and make songs or anything. But I'm not opposed to doing drums live in some way. If we could do like a funny get together with some people who play a bunch of instruments or something for charity at some point. I don't know. There's something to be had there. So maybe, I don't know, but I do want to do more drum stuff soon. Any new hobbies you've been trying out? Trying to get sponsored by Coke. That's a great hobby that's going nowhere. Drinking. That's also a great hobby. How many people at home now are watching this thinking that I actually have a drinking problem? But not really. Like gaming is still a really big hobby to me, even outside of playing. I play games all day, every day. I either record them, or I stream them, or I sit down and just play them in my spare time. I love games, and I love going to the movies, those kinds of things. But I haven't taken on anything new. I probably should. It's always nice to take on new hobbies. It's always nice to have hobbies. Playing games is a hobby that thankfully turned into more of a job capacity for me, but at the same time, it's always good to have differing things going on. It's always good to have something that's just fun for yourself, something that you don't need to share with the world. So I might get into something else. I don't know what that would be. I guess playing drums is still a big hobby of mine, noodling around on those. But is there anything else I've been doing in my spare time? Not really. I've been really, really busy lately, so I haven't really had time to take on any new hobbies, but I'd love to. I just don't know what they would be. Are you ever going to write a book? I think I talked about this before, but a really long time ago, because everybody was making... A lot of YouTubers were making books years ago. God, that was like 4 years ago now at this point. I've been doing YouTube way longer than it feels. I've been doing YouTube for 6 years, but I've thought about doing a book before. I've thought about making a silly book. I've thought about doing an autobiography book, but I'm like, I haven't lived a life yet, so what would I be able to write about? I'd be able to write something. There's a book there, but if it's worth doing or not is a different question. And I don't want to just make a book for the sake of making a book, even if the contents of it had some fun in them or something. I don't know. It's weird. So if I find the right idea, or not even the right idea, but a cool way of writing a book, or a cool way of doing a book, or a reason to do a book. I thought about doing a book alongside the tour and the documentary because there's a story in that to be able to tell, but I don't know if it would be different enough for release as a book. So I don't know. I've thought about it, but right now I have no plans of writing a book. Opinions on dogs in raincoats. I'm a big lover of dogs in general. Dogs in anything. Dogs in bubble baths. Dogs in movies. Dogs in my vicinity. It's all great. Dogs in raincoats are adorable. I want more dogs in everything. I want more dogs in my life. If we actually had 90 minutes, would you be able to do the How Did We Get Here show right now without any preparations? Yes, I absolutely would. It's so burned into my brain at this point. And the whole show was written basically in my head. Because I'm not a person that's like sits and writes stuff. I did write some versions of it down, but the versions that I wrote down are not nearly what the show ended up being. Like, all the jokes that ended up being in the show were almost all improv. There was some of them that were laid out, like the structure of the jokes were laid out, but the punchlines I would change depending on how the laughs would land. Like the first couple of shows I did, or the first leg of tour I did, was completely different than what well, not completely different, but a lot of the jokes are much funnier by the time I finished the show because I got way more comfortable with it. I knew the material. I didn't need to remember what was coming next. It just flowed out of me. So a lot of the jokes that ended up happening, even a lot of the jokes that were like the big laughs, were stuff that I made on the spot, because I would say a joke and then it wouldn't land, and I'm the type of person who's like, I'm gonna keep making jokes until you laugh, until I can cap this off. So I kept doing that, and sometimes a joke would just come out naturally and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, I love that joke. So I would just run with that for the next show, and then they became staples of the entire show for the rest of the tours. But because I did like 50 shows, it's just in my head. I don't know if I'd be able to do it perfectly. I don't even know if a perfect version of the show exists, but I'd definitely be able to get up and give you the full show. I'm a little rusty when it comes to like audience participation and the improv of that, but I'd definitely be able to do it. Billions and billions of years ago. I'm curious, what do you think your favorite parts of the community are? And I have another bit that I didn't get screenshot that says, and if you're open to talking on a more serious note, your least favorite part. My favorite parts of the community is when everything just clicks and gels. We find a series that is not only fun for me to record, and like the humor and everything flows very naturally, but it's fun for you guys to watch, and then it's fun for Robin to edit. There's like cool bits and pieces that you can do with that. And also when we kind of just come together for anything, whether it be going to PAX and everybody kind of being there to hang out and do a thing, going on the tours and everybody coming out to watch the show and we're all in the same room together, live streaming, just general making the videos and seeing people's reactions, but also the charity streams that we do every month are a big interactive piece that we do all the time. Anytime that I get to interact with you guys more is something that's really fun for me, because that's when everything gels together. That's when the YouTube thing just works perfectly, because YouTube to me has always been about a better connection between creator and audience, because traditional media doesn't really have that. But at the same time, branching off of that to my least favorite part, like with any upside, there's always a downside. And I think just always being on all the time, always having always having access to everything, and just like Bo Burnham said it best, was like audience and creator merge together. For a lot of things, there's far more positives in that than there are negatives, but sometimes the negatives of that really shine through because it can get too much. It's very overwhelming to have an audience of this size and try and lead people in a good direction, because every now and then stuff's going to fall apart, stuff changes. There's so many people, so many differing opinions, so many different walks of life, and so many different assumptions of how things should be and how things could be, and just, there's a lot involved in it. So sometimes it's very hard to take that on board. I'm getting constant feedback from people 24/7 all the time, and there's absolutely no break from it unless I take the break from it. And because I love interacting with people and love seeing how people react to the stuff that we're uploading, it's hard to get to the really good stuff. Sometimes you have to wade through the really horrible things, or somebody will say one thing that really gets to my insecurity that I felt on that particular day. If I'm in some sort of mood and then somebody says something to me, it kind of sets you off. Just imagine how it would be in your day-to-day life if you're walking around and you're just not in the best mood, and then somebody is able to find that one thing that you're upset about and they start like saying it back to you, but they say it back to you by the hundreds. Sometimes that gets to creators every now and then, because again, we're people at the same time, and I know that this is the life that we lead, and the public, like, we've put ourselves in the public eye, and some people would say like this is what comes with it, and to an extent I agree, but at the same time sometimes it gets very overwhelming. And doing YouTube has been the greatest source of joy for me that I've ever felt in my life, and it's given me more than I ever thought possible, and for that I am extremely grateful. And I will always see community and YouTube and everything as far more positive than it is negative. But since you asked, it's also given me my greatest source of anxiety that I've ever felt in my life, because there's just so much to it, and nobody's really prepared for any of it, ever. For whatever you're thinking at home, you might think that you know what it's like, but you will never ever know what it's like until you're actually doing it. So it can be very tricky, and it's a hard balance to walk. And sometimes I've faltered a little more than I'd like to admit, and sometimes things have kind of gotten out of control more than I'd like to admit. But I think that by and large, this community has stayed like pretty damn great. And doing this for this long is a very hard thing to do as well, to like keep this audience going and keep us all entertained and keep things just relatively nice. And I'm very, very proud of that. That was a long answer. But sometimes you need to get your thoughts across properly. How are you so positive? Well, I'm not positive all the time. I am positive most of the time, and I just kind of go with the flow and try and get as much fun out of things as I can. Well, that's basically the secret to it, is that I spent a lot of like 2017, spent a lot of the start of my YouTube stuff extremely excited, extremely motivated, fiery, burning passion in my soul for doing this, and it's just nothing was going to stop me, and it was impossible to be like upset about anything because things were just great. But 2017, a lot of stuff was going on, and it really just hammered me down and beat me into submission. And so you're never going to know the ins and outs of all of that kind of stuff, because a lot of it is very personal life things, and a lot of it involves people that I don't want to like talk about in that regard, or make it seem like they're bad people, or things like that. It's just not worth getting into, because ultimately I got over it. And nowadays, how I keep myself so positive is just because I went so deep and dark and miserable that I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to be that sad anymore. I didn't want to get burnt out on trivial things. I didn't want to eat up mental calories in my brain, and just kind of moved on from it. I made my peace with it. I tried to figure out what was wrong. I sat down, I self-reflected. I went over a lot of things in my life. I prioritized different things in my life. I changed a lot of things in my life. And I just tried to make more positive changes for the things that I wanted to do. Because I'd lived so much of my life doing things the way I thought other people wanted me to do them. And then, of course, doing YouTube in such a way has an audience like magnifying that, so I was trying to appease too many different people, so I kind of just settled into myself a bit more. I grew up, I got older, and I realized not to sweat the small things as much. There's so many things now I go back and I look at and I'm like, man, why did that upset me? Why was I so upset about those types of things? And that's, again, that comes with age and it comes with experience, because like in my early 20s, I was such a mess. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so upset. I was so depressed. So going through a lot of that stuff, it just comes with experience. And I also I want to be more positive about things, not in such a like a fake, hey, PMA, go be happy, haha, kind of way. I want to be like realistically positive. I want to just try and be happier in my life. And I think trying to find balance in my personal life has really made everything else a lot easier. It's easy to be positive when I feel like I have other things figured out. But again, I'm not positive all the time. Sometimes things piss me off, and sometimes it's such inconsequential shit. I'll just wake up on the wrong side of bed, and anything that like touches me, I'm like, oh God, leave me alone. So anybody who's positive, like that you see, it's not positive all the time. So don't look at that and try and think that you have to be positive all the time. But just, I don't know, chill out, have fun. Life can be great. It can't be boiled down that easily, and there's no one answer that I can give you. I would have to talk for 4 hours to try and get across all my thoughts on these types of things. And I've spent a long time trying to strive towards what is positivity and how do you be happy. So there's no answer I can give you right now that's going to give you the perfect solution. So it's all about just figuring it out for yourself. When is the green hair coming back? Never. It's gone. Let me move on from it. This is also I know you don't mean any harm by it, by the way. I'm not trying to drag you or throw shade your way or make you feel bad for asking the question, because it's a question I get asked a lot of times. But I don't know, I feel like that's a part of me that's kind of gone at this point. The green hair thing, it was cool at the time, but now looking back and it's like, yeah, that's a time that happened. But this is what's happening now, and I'm never going to go back to the green hair. Like, there's no thing that can really make me change my mind about that, I think. Unless something crazy happens, like somebody's like, I'll donate $3 million to your next charity stream if you dye your hair green. Like, something like that, maybe, but in general, it's just, there's a lot of phases that happen when it comes to life in general. Things come and go, YouTube series come and go, like that's always reminding me of like Happy Wheels, Turbo Dismount, like a lot of those series that were happening back then when the channel was really exploding and the green hair was really taking off and everything. That feels like a nice, neat little part of the channel that sits there at that moment, and you can still go back and you can still look at it and everything, but I don't want to try and relive the past too much. I'm not even the same person as I was back when I dyed my hair green, so even if I tried, it wouldn't really be the same thing. So I want to just kind of leave those things back where they were. I don't regret them. I'm not ashamed of them. I do cringe a little at some of them, but again, cringing at things from your past means that you've grown and you've evolved and you're in a different place now, so I kind of just want to leave those things where they are. They're still nice, happy memories, and people can always go back and look at them and watch them and everything whenever they want. Legit question though, I love these joking ones. Any advice for someone just starting out with gauge earrings? I just started with 14S just yesterday, and I know I'll wait at least 3 weeks before going to the next size, but each experience is different. Yeah, so I started off stretching my ears when I was 18. I got one of my ears pierced when I was at the Sonosphere Festival in England the first year that it was on, and I just started stretching them from there. I got the other one done about a month later, so they were done at different times, and I kind of recommend that first. I wouldn't start stretching both at the same time, because when you start, well, it depends on how big you want to go, but when you start stretching them, you have to put these giant earrings in that stretch them out. Like, to get to this size, I don't know what like the American rating for it is. People are like, I think that's 00, and I'm like, I just go by the millimeter. So these are 8mm. I used to have 10 in my ears, whatever that ends up being from conversion charts, but I was doing them at different times, different size of earrings, and I'd say go at whatever pace your body reacts to. With me, I had to go a little slower because my ears just wouldn't stretch. They weren't as malleable as some people's ears are. I had a friend who had his ears stretched as well, and his went much faster, but mine, I stretched too hard, too fast, and my ear cracked and bled a bit, so I had to like dial back. It got a little bit infected and goopy the way they always do. So it was a lot slower than some people's, but other people then can do it in like 2 weeks. They can keep going up sizes. So it all just depends on your ears. I just say take it as slow as you need to, but listen to your body as well. If you're suddenly like pushing and it's not hurting and you're not getting that much resistance, then do that until you hit some resistance. There's no like definite way of doing it for everybody. Do you mind people coming up to you? I didn't say any of that right. Do you mind people coming up to you to say hello? If you don't look busy, that is. Yes, of course. You can always come up to me. If I'm out in public or I'm out walking around, you can always come up to me and say hi. I love meeting people. I'm usually, generally, almost all the time very nice to people who come up and meet me on the streets. Because it's delightful. How many times can you walk down the street and somebody comes up and they want to meet you just because of the things they saw you do on the internet? That's lovely. It's a great compliment. Of course, it's different if I'm in the middle of eating dinner or something. It's not really a great time to do it. But that's just basic human body language at that point. So yeah, come up to me. Say hi. I'd love to talk to you. Is Danny from Game Grumps a furry? Yes. Yes, he is. When he's not on camera. That's actually why the Grumps can't do much Let's Plays with like a face cam or anything, because Danny's kind of just sitting in like his full furry outfit. I'm not going to say what he is because it's very special to him. And the more I can spread around a rumor of Danny Sexbang being a furry, the better. Do you think you will ever move to LA? Also, if you could time travel for one day, would you go 1 million years in the past or 30 years in the future, and why? I thought I was going to move to LA this year because I spent 3 months there last year and it was fantastic and I had so many friends to hang out with and I felt great and the sun was fantastic and it was just a great time. That was when I really started to get like personal life balance back in order. My YouTube stuff got a little all over the place because I just didn't know what the hell was going on. And that was when I got to like hang out with friends properly and really get peace of mind and really ease into things and like just kind of remind myself of who I am and what I want and all that kind of stuff. So I thought for a long time that I was going to move to LA, but coming back here to Brighton, it moves at a different speed and sometimes it's really nice to just be here and relax. And I really like my house. I like hanging out in it and I like just being here and relaxing. It's very quiet here where I live and it's very isolated and I like that I can just kind of sit back and let the world sort of melt away if I want to. It's kind of hard to do that in a much bigger place with so many more people. And I can always go to LA for things if I really want to. I can take some trips for different things or go for like 3 months again if I want to. So I decided not to right now, but eventually someday, maybe for like an extended stay again, but I don't see myself living there indefinitely. And if I would go 1 million years in the past or 30 years in the future, I would choose 30 years in the future because 1 million years in the past would fucking suck. That would be terrible. 1 million years ago, there's no people, there's no anything going on. That would be awful. But even if it was like 30 years ago or 30 years in the future, I would still choose the future. I would choose the future all the time. Because the stuff that's happened in the past has happened in the past, it's already done. I want to see where we're going. I want to see what's next. I want to see what advancements we have in 30 years, whether things got better or worse. I'm just very curious about that. Do you prefer taking a shower with your back towards the water or the other way around? And this is a good question because I remember talking to some friends about this a while ago and some of them said that they take a shower facing the water, and whenever you kind of see any sort of like movie or any sort of picture or like stock photo of people taking a shower, they're always facing the shower with the water hitting them in the face. Maybe it just looks more aesthetically pleasing that way because it looks very sad when you're just standing with your back to the shower. But I always shower with the water hitting my back because I feel like I can like concentrate on things better. If I'm staring at it, I feel like I'm trying to get the water out of my face all the time. So I'm very curious if you guys have showers with your back to the water or your chest to the water, like facing the water or facing away from the water. Let me know. I'm very curious. Do you ever get like really cool ideas, but you're not able to do them the way that you want? Yes, all the time. I always build it up in my head a lot bigger than it needs to be, and I always hold myself back from like trying really cool things. I try not to, but I still do it even these days. Sometimes there are like huge projects that I want to do and some really cool ideas that I get in my head and I'm like, no, that'll either cost too much to do, it would just be way too long to do. It would require too many people. Things like that. Sometimes it's just way too big to do, but sometimes it's like easy, simple little videos to do, but I'm like, no, I'd have to take my camera and set it up there. I really want it to go this way, and I want to look at it that way, and I want it to be perfect. And then I end up thinking in my head, no, it won't end up that way. And then I end up not doing it at all. And I hate myself for that. I really need to get out of that mentality, because it's holding me back from doing like a bunch of really random, weird stuff on the channel. And I want to do more of that. I want to just take risks and do fun stuff. But because I'm so in a cycle of doing like videos each and every single day, it's also hard to just break away from that and get the time to even think about doing different ideas. Because daily uploading, it might not look like a whole lot. It might not look like a whole lot to like sit here and like read comments and answer them and things like that. But if you want to have any sort of life at all, it's really hard to upload daily all the time. So I have to like really take some breaks away to really do some cool stuff. And at that point I'm like, oh, it's nice to just kind of take a break away in general. So, oh man, there's a lot. I really need to do cooler stuff. But I think I'm gonna leave this here because I've been recording way too long. But I figured it's been a while since I've done one of these, so why not do a longer version of it and actually give proper answers instead of jokey, quickfire type of answers, because I feel like the people who really want to know answers to things and really want to just sit back and relax and listen and know what's going on, like the longer versions of these videos are for you guys, for those people who want to watch that kind of stuff. And the people who aren't really into this type of stuff, it doesn't really matter what length it would be anyway, so this is for you guys. Mwah. But yeah, it's nice sitting back and just like interacting with you. Doing these types of videos definitely makes it feel like there's more people actually sitting behind a camera and watching and listening, more so than doing a let's play. So it feels very connected, so I do want to do more of these types of videos. It's just, I keep getting the same types of questions all the time. There's a lot of them that I had to skip over this time, like on, like, how do you start a YouTube channel? Things like that I've answered a million times. And there's so many questions that that was another reason for not doing reading comments anymore, is because I started answering questions that I had answered like 30 episodes ago, and I'm like, jeez, 30 episodes ago? I can't even remember what was in that video. I can't remember that video at all. So it just became a bit too messy, so there you go. But thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the flippity flop. Stay awesome. I don't know what else to say to end this video. It's very awkward, so I'm just going to say bye and thanks for watching. Bye. Now back to my drinking problem.